Hi, Gene Burnett from GeneBurnett.com. I thought I'd show you today a really neat exercise that I do sometimes, actually pretty regularly, and I've gotten a lot of value from doing this, and maybe you will too. It's actually pretty simple. It's related to my sort of Tai Chi freestyle workout that I also do regularly. I've made a couple of videos about that, but just to really briefly recap, I just go through 4 stages of movement when I do the freestyle workout. I have a stage where I just suspend my joints like I'm a puppet made of lead but on strings, so I'm heavy but I'm suspended, and I kind of roll my joints around and feel this suspended joint feeling. And then from there I go into random movements from the various forms and exercises that I know. I'll mix and match all kinds of different movements and different exercises, but I'll do them with a little bit of speed, so I just have to kind of arrange myself in the best position I can without the luxury of going super slow. So it gets me out of being locked into the form and just gets me into just picking movements from the form and doing them as best I can at that speed. And then I do sort of explorative, expressive movements a little bit. I try to move in ways that I haven't moved before, and I do all kinds of quirky, weird, embarrassing stuff. But I work my body in outside the normal sphere, outside the usual ways of moving. You'll hear some thumps tonight because there's a big windstorm coming, so there might be some doors slamming outside. And then the last section is more striking. So I'll either do like shadow boxing or imagining opponents that I'm hitting and striking and kicking, and I just kind of take my movements and focus them a little bit more on striking. So I go from very yin and very floaty and very relaxed to a little more yang, a little more structure, a little more, kind of posture, and then I go back to more yin, but with a little bit more specific intent to move myself in ways that I don't normally do. So it's not quite as passive as, or yinish as the seaweed. And then I go very yang, which is to do striking and stuff. So that's the freestyle workout. But this exercise sort of works on the first 2 and perhaps the 4th one. So the first thing I do is I stand with my feet a little bit wider than my shoulders and hips, parallel, the inside of my feet are parallel, and I hold my hands in this kind of circle like this, like a crane cools wings kind of position here, or whatever you might call it in your system. And I suspend my joints within this shape. So there's a wiggle in my wrist, there's a wiggle in my elbow, there's a wiggle in my shoulder, right? The arms all have a little bit of looseness in the joints here and in my head and neck as well. But any movement that I do here is coming from my legs and my waist. If I want my hands to do this, I do it with my legs and waist. I'm not directing this around with my arms. I'm not doing this with local strength. I'm shifting my weight back and forth and turning my waist and allowing that to come up and through my arms and out to my hands and head and neck. I might amplify one of those movements by adding a little bit of arm motion to it. I mean, I'm obviously working to hold my hands up. I'm not just slack. But the real instigator, the real initiation comes from below, comes from the legs and waist. So my joints are suspended and relaxed. And it can be really visible like this, or it can be really invisible like this. It's just hardly happening. Internally, I'm definitely, wiggling those joints around in there. So it's not formy, it's not slack and super soft and heavy, it's in between, like the lead puppet on strings, or like seaweed, or like big driftwood logs or something like that. There's a sense of suspension, like a child's mobile, hanging over a crib. You touch one piece and they all move. It's because of the suspension that works. If you cut the string and put it on a table, you can pick up one piece all you want. But when it's suspended, they're all connected, right? So I start with that connection there. And from here, I go into movements from the form. So I might turn and say, do Parting Wild Horse's mane. And then I suspend my joints a little bit there, and then I come back to where I was. So I go from suspended joints here to a movement in the form, and I suspend the joints there, and then I move back. The key for me in doing this is that, again, it comes from my legs and my core. I'm not arranging my hands in shapes and doing stuff out here with my arms. What I'm like, if I'm going to hold the ball over there, my body turns and I just drop this hand, I drop that elbow, and there's my ball. Then from there I step and shift and turn. So it's my body doing it, or my lower body doing it. When I come back, I push off that front leg, the momentum draws my hands back to where I was. So if you think about it, you know, all of our postures and all of our movements in life come from a combination of which muscles are firm and which muscles are relaxed. And depending on which muscle is firm and which muscle is relaxed and at what time that happens and what sequence, that's all of our movements in life. So what I'm trying to do here is feel as though all the components for all the Tai Chi movements are just on the table. It's like having a whole alphabet in front of you, and each like little tiles, like Scrabble tiles, and each one has a letter, and they're just floating, and I can just make words easily because all my tools are available. So all the tools in this are basically little circles and spirals and hinges and lines, and all the geometry of the body. It's keeping all those possibilities just kind of there, and then arranging yourself into one of the movements from the form and coming back again. So the components are right here, see? They're right there. It's all in these circles, right? These circles make up all these movements, whatever they are. So it's keeping all of them on the table with this soft, suspended feeling, and then just letting my impulses tell me which one to do next. And once I get there, I suspend again where I am, and then I come back again, right? And I let my lower body lead my position. My body pulls my hands back. So I go morphing in and out of shape and structure back to floating and vice versa. So for me, it's just a good way to get out of the straitjacket of the form. It's a good way to study joint suspension and a kind of loose, ready feeling in my body. One time I saw a demonstration by a well-known Tai Chi practitioner who was taking attacks from somebody else, just random attacks in a demonstration, and the camera just happened to be over this guy's shoulder, and I'm glad it was, because I noticed when he was waiting for the attacks, he just had this loose, suspended, slightly in motion feeling in his body, and then when whatever attack came, he would recruit different muscles and different angles in his bones and joints to deal with that attack. But he wasn't tight and tense like this, waiting to see what he could jerk into motion, and he wasn't passive and just like a sagging lump. He was in between, right? So it's not like your joints are little straitjackets, right? And it's not like your joints are, you know, fat guys deep in a hammock that need to push out of the hammock to get into motion. You're halfway out of the hammock and halfway in it. So you're resting, but you're resting in a state of suspension. And that is a neat quality that I really like to put into my form and to put into my life and to put into my movements. So this is just a way to study the basic building blocks of Tai Chi, the basic building blocks of suspension, and just add shape to it and keep coming back to this. And an important thing again is your body, the core body, the down here, this is what moves the exercise. So if you're going into the ball, don't pull your hands into a ball. From here, turn your waist and turn that foot, and there's your ball, and then you can go into your movements from there, right? Whatever the movement is, you're going to, say, single whip or coming back out of it. You're moving from your legs and your core. Your arms follow your body movements. They're like delivery devices, you know. They don't direct the energy, and they don't generate it. They don't root it. They express it. So this is a good way to practice that basic Tai Chi principle, rooted in the feet, powered by the legs, directed by the waist, expressed by the upper limbs. So I can do this forever. I do this exercise a lot, and I can do it with my, I can watch a video or something. I don't usually sit in my chair in my office and watch videos. I'd rather move around while I watch. So while I'm watching the video, I can just work on my joint suspension and doing different movements from the form and always coming back to this. If you do this and you're not used to it, you might feel a little strain in the old deltoids there, because you do have to work your shoulders a little bit to keep your hands up for a while. But you know, they'll get stronger. And I don't know if it's possible to hurt yourself doing this unless you just do something really stupid, so don't do that. But keep your joints suspended and relaxed, and just move into different movements from your form. And see if you can keep suspension going the whole time. See if you can keep from hesitating the whole time. You're already in motion when you do this, so you don't have to start a motion. You're already in motion. All you do is steer that thing that's already in motion into one of the shapes that you know. So anyway, I appreciate you watching. I make these videos in the hope that they might be helpful to people. I never thought about making a lot of money doing these things. It was always just a way to share things that worked for me and that I thought would be helpful, and ways to share my music and things that I noticed around me, the natural world and stuff like that. Recently I got booted from YouTube monetization, which I'm actually kind of happy about, because I was never really that happy with having ads on my channel. So I don't make any money from these videos anymore. If you would like to support my work and my videos and the stuff that I do, and would like to leave me a small tip or a donation, look in the description. There's a link to a little PayPal thing there that you can make a donation if you like. Feel free to drop me a tip every once in a while if you feel it. If not, don't worry about it at all. I'm offering this stuff free. Thanks for watching. You can also visit GeneBurnett.com.